I'm Sandy Schreck for LBR Educates, and recently we had Donald Yim here as a guest designer, and I was so inspired by him. Today we want to take his arrangement that he made here. So this arrangement he actually did in a triple brick tray, so similar to this. He spray painted it, so that's the base on this. And he did a composite arrangement which has multiple smaller arrangements together that form one composition. So you can see the diagonal lines, how they play together. So we have a base structure done with some of the free spirit roses, some apples, pulling that together, adding that pincushion protea to give that contrast and tension, and then the crossing stems of the flowers overhead doing that same thing. So we're going to create a design inspired by him and show you it today. All right, here we go on this design. So we're using the Renewal foam from Smithers Oasis. This is a new foam that is a plant-based foam. It doesn't have any dyes. You can see it's a nice dark black color. So I'm using it with this container, and then just like regular foam, it does operate very similarly. And so I'm just going to actually use some of the scraps to lock that brick into place. And so you can see that it can be decorative. It acts just like that regular foam comes in. And so now we're going to start our composition. I'm doing the foam kind of even with the container. By utilizing the Renewal foam, I am going to be offering a sustainable solution to my customers. So if you have customers that are asking for that, it's a great opportunity. It acts just like the other foam in the fact that it gives you control. It holds about the same amount of water. It does take a little bit longer to soak, but it comes in and you can see that it holds the flowers in place, so you have that control factor. And so I'm just starting a little bit of basing here, doing some coming back and forth, and then I'm going to come in with a couple sheltering elements. And so this is a plumosa that I did a little bit of tailoring on. So we have this really cool line that it's going to develop, and we want it to kind of help guide us going back and forth. And so you can see that's our base structure, and then we're going to come in. I'm going to add some callas coming in from over in here. So just like in regular foam, you need to kind of feed that softer stem, and that's why I'm putting it in early so that I can make sure that I don't run into a lot of other flowers. Just using a little bit of friction from my hand. I'm just getting that bend to be a little bit stronger, and we want to continue to kind of do this crossing pattern. And so you can see how that plumosa kind of is helping me guide that spiral placement. Callas are something that are a very interesting flower. People really enjoy them. I like the waxy texture and really the sexiness of the stem itself. So I definitely want to have that exposed. And then we're going to come in with a couple of our focal flowers. And here we've got a pincushion protea that's going to come in right there. And then I'm going to come in, and rather than do it directly behind, what I'm going to do is bring it at a diagonal. So when you're viewing it from that side, if I do it directly behind, you see one flower. If I do it off in a diagonal fashion, you're going to see two flowers. And it's going to give you more depth perception with that item coming back and forth. And then just a couple of roses coming in. That we're going to bring down here, and I can show you that coming in there. And then a couple gerbs here on the back side. So I'm mixing my florals, and so you see that the gerbs have a similar structure to the pincushion protea, but a different amount of petals and dominance. And so they're repetitive of that same shape and the petal structure, but look at the contrast that you see with the textures on there. And so you can see this is coming together really cool. Because I'm using that renewal foam that's in that black color, you can see I haven't added any foliage beyond that plumosa, and I really have almost all of my base covered. Okay, so then we're going to add a few more dancing elements. And so this is a kangaroo paw that, look at how much visual interest that adds into this composition. And so we're coming in with those angled stems, and because of the way that this flower is shaped itself, it kind of has some of those crossing stems happening naturally, and so we can utilize that the way that it is and have it really kind of pull together this whole composition and be repetitive of those crossing stems. I have a couple more flowers here. I have a spray leucadendron, and so we're going to come in with a few of those there. I'm also going to use, you saw that I cut that leucadendron off there, but I'm also going to use the base of that flower for a foliage piece. If you cut off the flowers with intention, like here, we have some sprays coming off of a flower right here, so I'm able to use that, and then these three. So it's a great way to be able to kind of spread out your florals and make sure that you're using your florals efficiently, the tops and the bottoms of the flowers. So this makes a great foliage insertion coming in, and I've got one over there, and so I'm going to bring the other one over here. So I kind of have the little grouping here and then the grouping here coming back and forth. Okay, so now we want to add a couple of pops of alternative color. So we see some of the different tones. So the purples are kind of in the blue family off the cooler side of the color wheel, and then the oranges and reds are coming off the warmer side of the color wheel. But if we come back in, look what these hot pink roses are really gonna liven this arrangement up. And so these are spray roses, and you can see that they have multiple heads on one stem, so I can be very efficient with my insertions. And I'm gonna make sure this is still up. Gonna come in and just do some groupings. So I'm laying a couple stems together to do that one insertion coming in, and then we'll come back here and lay these two together to come in and just bring this down into the focal area. So just adding that contrasting color. And so what I'm doing, I split the area there by putting the roses here and here. And because it's contrasting color harmony, you need to make sure that your eye travels all the way through with that. And then we've got, look at this here. So adding some of the yellow too. This definitely is going to give us more of that tension. And that comes in and hitting those contrasting curving stems and adding that billy ball is a conversation piece. And always people want to touch it and see, and like anytime you put it in an arrangement, they're like, what is that? And so it's a great way to get people talking about your arrangements and to have something unique that you're presenting to your customers that just set you apart. And then we're so lucky to be able to have the breeders develop now clematis that we can use commercially, and it holds up and it has that strength of those flowers now. And just look at how that really finishes off that end. Pulling that cool tone where we see the pinks and the plums coming from the callas, and then we're gonna come in with these two clematis, just really finishing off. And that's a money flower for sure, so we want to make sure that it's visible. And so we brought it right out to the ends where it comes in, and you can see how this is kind of my interpretation of Donald's design, doing those crossing lines, doing some diagonal elements, and then also that dancing along with the basing. So you can see the control that I have here in the renewal foam. And so I hope that you'll grab some of that and try this design and create some fabulous florals.